Hello, Ben. How you getting on, mate? It's good to have you back on the podcast for episode 2. The first one, I think, was the most viewed episode, so it's essential to get you back and kind of see where you stand now with tickets and collecting, and what you're up to in life. So, how you been?
Great to see you, Taylor. Yeah, I'm as shocked as anyone that was the most viewed episode. There's no rhyme or reason to things that happen sometimes, is there? It's just an anomaly. How have I been? It's been crazy, mate. Had a baby a month ago today.
Mhm,
So that is just an out of body surreal experience to anyone
mhm.
that has had kids will probably attest to. Like the first couple of weeks are just insane. Um, but it's getting. I'm reluctant to say we're in a routine now. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But the tickets thing certainly for a couple of weeks was took a back seat. But it's slowly creeping back in now.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. Well, the baby's got a lot to inherit with some Lewis Miley tickets, etc.,
Oh
etc.
no. He's not going to thank us for those, I don't think. But yeah, one day I'll. I remember my dad actually passed me down Newcastle United FA Cup final program. It was 1950, probably the last time I won one actually, and I still got that. And he handed us down a couple of nice things. So all I've got to pass down is some like Louis Smiley tickets and some maybe Pele tickets that aren't actually confirmed. But I think I've slowly been collecting some really good ones recently. Sort of transitioned into music a bit.
Okay,
So
tell us about that. How you kind of found music tickets, and why they excite you.
yeah, so I mean, with the football ones, I don't collect like numbered goals or celebrations or moments per se. Really, it was just some football ones that interested me, and I thought, and I very much have a card collector's mentality where I like to go for the earliest if I can
Yeah.
for things,
Mhm.
and I felt like without getting a Messi Espanol, which I'll never get, without getting them, I sort of got the ones that I really wanted.
Okay.
So I was looking for duplicates and things like that. I wasn't really getting excited as much anymore about it. I was thinking, what else do I like? Well, I love wrestling, but they were very hard to get because whenever buggers had wrestling tickets on, I'd wake up and think, oh, that's a good one. Or someone's claimed it, and then about 5 other people have sent PMs. So I think, well,
Yeah.
that's a non-starter. I was like, well, my other third love really is music and hip hop. Like I love rap and hip hop. I loved
Mhm.
it from an early age, and used to love Tupac, Biggie, growing up, Eminem, people like that. So I was like,
Mhm.
well, I really love that. So I'm going to have a look and see what's out there. And actually, what I found was some very interesting, reasonably priced stuff. And I also thought, um, people look for first gigs and last gigs, don't they?
Mhm. Generally
On the
speaking, yeah.
whole, on the
Yeah.
whole. But I thought, well, there's actually been some really good gigs, first gigs of artists in this country, and
Mhm.
they might not. A lot of people might not know that was their artist's first gig in this country. So I'll start off with one. I'll show you
Curious.
one. Yeah. So this is, I think, is an amazing one. This is a good one to start off with. I think this is Eminem at Subterranea Club in London.
Okay.
Now there's only a pot one of this, and it was $75, and it it was a gig in front of 300 people. And what drew us to this was Subterranea. I'd never heard of that place. So I was thinking, well, it's not the Astoria, it's not like the Academy, or what is Subterranea? So I Googled it, and it was just this tiny little venue in England, in London. And as I
Yeah.
say, 300 people. He did 5 songs that night, and that was his first ever show. It wasn't even a tour; it was just his first ever show in the UK. I was
Wow.
like, whoa, that is incredible, I thought.
Sorry,
So
so
then I
five
went,
people attended.
sorry?
There's only 500 people there.
No, I think about 300. I think
Wow.
about 300.
And have
Um,
you seen any others sold on eBay or Terapeak or
no,
anything like that?
I,
So,
I, I haven't. I have seen others, and things like that, but I've not seen any for sale. Just like images or people have got them. But there can't be. I mean, there literally can't be that many out there. So when this came up on auction, and I think as well, what actually it works in your favour is a lot of your competition are Americans, and
uh-huh.
they're not actually as interested in
Yeah.
first English show or whatever.
Yeah, but it's definitely a big point as well in their career and their milestone, and even for
Yeah,
their own personal museum if they were to ever create one. I definitely think
yeah,
that would make it in there. So yeah, really
I,
cool. What else?
I
What
think
else
so.
made it in the recent pickups?
Yeah, recent pickups. So then I went on a bit of a
Go through the
thing.
journey, actually. Go through the journey. I
The
think that's
journey.
better.
Okay. Well, I suppose the very beginning of the journey, hip hop was I was looking for 2-pack tickets, and they are like gold dust 2-pack tickets. I
Mhm.
can't find any, and if they come up, they're like ridiculous money. So what I did get, and I put this in the chat a long time ago, was 2-pack's first film, which was Juice, and this was
Yeah.
before he actually released an album, and
Okay.
it was a very small film, and he wasn't well known at the time, and this was a ticket for the Japanese showing, I guess, or one of the Japanese viewings, I guess. No, not viewings. Just when it was released in Japan was one of the tickets for it. But very good condition, very reasonably priced. And as I say, I'm a big 2-pack fan, and I thought that as a very early first film, I thought that was excellent price as well to get. So then that sort of that was the first sort of hip hop ticket that I got, and then I thought, well, I've got a 2-pack one. I'd quite like a biggie one.
Yeah.
So that this was quite a bit more, but it was one of them things that, you know, when it comes up, I thought if a biggie ticket comes up, I'm just gonna I just want to have it. Like, it came up,
Mhm.
and so this one, Notorious B.I.G., and there's only when I looked, there was only 4 graded Notorious B.I.G. concert tickets out there. Only
Yeah.
4. 2 were authentic. One was a 6, and this one's a 5. Now, he's not even the main act on there, if you
Yeah.
notice.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Jodeci and then Mary J. Blige and
There he
Notorious
is.
B.I.G., which his
Yeah.
name's not even spelt right. It's Nator
Tell us about this.
Ios. Sorry,
Is there a story behind it?
a story behind it. Not really. I just wanted a biggie ticket, and
Mhm.
I thought this was a good condition one. So it's a 5, and
Mhm.
the other ones have like maybe tears in them and things like that. But I thought it was quite cool because he's just like third act on the bill,
Yeah.
and you would think Notorious B.I.G. is such a big star. I think the fact what drew us to it was he was supporting Jodeci. Well, you wouldn't go and see Jodeci probably if they were in your social club, you know,
Yeah.
like. So I just thought that's what drew me to that, and then obviously then it's just snowballed into I wonder what else hip hop I can find.
Yeah. I definitely saw on the Discord that you were putting in like some cool Oasis stuff as well. But I guess that's further
Um,
down the journey in that storyline.
I don't know. Did I? Oh, yeah. I didn't win the Oasis one. It was just like a passed up opportunity sort of thing.
Ah,
I'd
okay.
seen it. I'd seen it. I'd bid for it, but I didn't. I didn't win them. But yeah, going back to the first gigs in the UK, there was a Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg one, which I put in the Discord.
Yeah, I've seen
You can
this.
see that, and that's at Brixton Academy, and that was a full ticket.
Hmm.
Again, like they're 2 legends, and the very fact that they play these artists are so big, and they'll come over here and they'll just play like little academies.
Yeah,
Back in those days, is incredible to me. I think like if you're a big artist now, very rarely would you come and just play little clubs like that. You would be in arenas or like Manchester straight away and things like that.
yeah, very
Um,
true.
whereas there's a lot of history of like Brixton Academy. They've
Hmm.
got they've had a lot of the big hip hop artists in the early 90s and things like that. And following on to that theme was LL Cool J. He was at Brixton.
Yeah. Is Brixton then the number one location for these? You know.
So I think it was, yeah. I think it was such a thing like back in the day. They would come over, and I think probably it was before the internet, wasn't it? I mean, you're talking 91, 94. So really, it was probably attracted to that core London base where
Got
people
you.
would read about, they would hear about them, and they'd maybe come over and do 1 or 2 shows in this country, and they didn't
Mhm.
have a large enough audience at the time to play these big arenas. I think that's the reason behind it.
That would
I was
absolutely make sense.
too young. And then, so I'm just blasting through them here now. So then I was just looking around for all sorts of Brixton and on English concert tickets and all sorts like that. And I found another couple. These weren't London, but Foo Fighters, obviously a massive band.
Mhm.
They played the Town and Country Club in Leeds, and that was one of their first gigs.
Yeah.
We're talking like maybe less than a tenner for each one of these tickets.
Yeah. And that
And
is most of the time their first UK performance, right?
yeah, most of the Foo Fighters one isn't, but I think but these ones are. Just to my knowledge.
Yeah. What about European? Is it the first European one as well, or
Ooh,
have
probably not.
you deep in?
Probably not. I think the Eminem one might be. What have I got here? I'm not sure about first European, but I just thought first British show. I'm never going to get first show in general, like the very first show they do. And I know a lot of people, there's a big market for last shows, but I've just never really been that bothered about them. And
Mhm.
I think first show in this country is just like, to me, I just think that's quite a cool thing.
Definitely.
Limp Bizkit is another one, and they were a massive band in my childhood, Limp Bizkit, and this was their first ever show in this country, and they're on a support act for a band called Soulfly.
Okay.
And you can see there, and that was their first ever appearance. And again, I quite like the fact that these people are just like supporting other bands that you've probably not heard of.
Yeah, I've got loads of questions then because I'm not really into music tickets that much.
Okay, yeah,
So I'm sure if I've got these questions and other people are out there as
mm.
well,
Mm.
my as far as I've really delved into it is first and last performances.
Yeah.
So anything in between I haven't really explored, and I think for a lot of people that's the case. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is there like a moments within that? Is there any like key moments? Of course,
Yeah.
there's. What are those milestones and key moments? Is it
Yeah.
record attendees, or what sort of moments are significant?
Well, for me, I think because they're probably well established in America at that point, they come over here and then they're in little venues. Like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg were huge in 1994, and then they come over and display it in Academy. I've got here a special moment, and this is Eminem again, and this is at Brixton Academy, and it says Eminem. I don't know if you can see that, plus guest star,
Yeah.
and that's Dr. Dre. So
Um,
he brought Dr. Dre out at Brixton Academy unannounced, and they did a concert together. And it wasn't just one song; they did loads of songs together that
It's
night.
crazy looking back to think that a name like Dr. Dre would be a highlight guest. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it definitely, but back then it was so low key or so underappreciated
Yeah.
that it
Well, it's
didn't
the year
even.
2000 that. So I mean, 2000, Dr. Dre was a megastar then. He was huge, and to not even be announced and came out with it for Eminem in an academy.
Yeah.
To me, that's well cool. So yes, there's certainly moments, and moving on to, I mean, you were talking about collecting Yeezys, Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think obviously with his recent antics, Kanye has probably gone down in value. Well, he has gone down in value, but I do think history will remember him in time as like a genius, and not just in his music, but with his fashion as well, and culture, like from a cultural standpoint.
A lot of my moments growing up, he was the face. He was the face of
Yeah.
the culture. He was a face of music. He was a face of fashion. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with you on that point. But it's hard to ignore the significance he had. So what's a kid from him? Because I've looked at like first Yeezy to it was 2017 Life of Pablo, and that was one of my favorite albums growing up. And he played it at one of his fashion shows, and he had a party, and there was a ticket for that. But there was only like one or two graded, so the guy wanted like £700 for it, which for me it was just too much. But I've looked into those key moments for Kanye West because growing up he played such a massive part in our culture.
Well, so for Kanye, this I got it was his first show in the UK, and it was at the Forum in London. I'll just get that here. There it is. There, the Forum in London. So 2004. What is it? 20th of May 2004. And I also got the Brixton Academy one as well.
Yeah.
So I got actually a lot of these tickets from the same seller. So he put one ticket up, and I said like, "Oh, what other concerts have you been to? Have you been to any more?" And he was like, "Oh yeah," and he sent a list of all the ones he had. So I just went through them and said, "Oh yeah, quite fancy these ones, these ones, these ones." And
What's
there's
that priced?
sorry.
What's the price of something like that? The Kanye West
That
tickets?
to be honest, he said, and I hate it when people do this, but he said, make us an offer, right?
Yeah.
I said, I wish you just listed them. And so I said for the Kanye ones, I said 30 quid each,
Yeah.
and he just said yes straight away. So I could have probably got them for a lot less.
Yeah.
Like,
But the thing what tickets are so interesting is he probably paid far less than that to attend the event. So for him, he's thinking, you know what, it's a free concert, amazing.
Free concert. Yeah, the Eminem one, the Eminem Brixton one, that was 50 quid. But that was, do you know, that was one. You'll have these, Taylor, in your head. You'll think, I've got this ticket that I want. If it ever comes up, I am getting that ticket. Right.
Absolutely. And prices up
and the
question.
Sorry, go on. What was that?
I was just saying, and if it does pop up, especially when you've got filters set for years, if it does pop up, then the price doesn't really matter. And I was thinking, I was speaking to you about this. We've only been collecting for a few years, especially in the UK with the collectors. It can't be any longer than 4 or 5 years. So how much we desire something isn't that much. It's 4 years of waiting. Yes, it's a lot, but when you put it down to American collectors, when they've been waiting 10, 20, 30, 40 years for some of these things to eventually pop up, and they finally do, there's no surprise that the price tag is so high. Because when you've been looking so long for something, you know what it's like for us. We'd pay anything, really, to some extent. But for them, they really will. So,
But for them, and I just think a lot of people in this country, when these things get listed, it's just folks getting rid of stuff. Like, it's just because you look at their other listings and it's just like random shit that they've probably gathered from the house.
Some old shoes. That's how you know.
It's all they're not like proper sellers, like ticket sellers. Getting all these English tickets, these British tickets, they're not like from proper ticket collectors. That you look at their, as I say, their other stuff. It was all like stuff from the early 90s and things. So they've just found a load of stuff and they're just clearing them out.
Yeah, definitely. I love that feeling. You feel like you're getting it from the source. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You often, because it's not a well-established market, you are connecting with the people that went to the event. It's not a reason them. So for some reason, you just feel even more connected to that.
Well, I always ask them, did you attend the event and what were your memories of them? Always. And they've usually got some really cool stories. So there was one, I've got to tell you this. I'd found the NWA, so NWA with Eazy-E, you'll have heard of them, I imagine. They played Brixton Academy in the early 90s, and I'd found the ticket. I'd found someone who attended the event, and I found the ticket, and I tracked him down, and I says, would you be willing to sell it? And he just went, yeah, all right, and it was just dead easy. And I think we agreed on a price of 50 quid for it, this Eazy-E. I says, did you attend the event? And he says, yes. Eazy-E pulled a gun on stage and waved it at the crowd, like pointing at the crowd. He says, everyone, So, and he says, everyone was just like panicking and running around and ducking and things like that. He said, yeah, it was carnage. It was absolutely crazy. So if I hadn't asked him about that, I would never have known. So then we agreed on the price and whatnot. And I went to bed that night. And I woke up the next day, checked my phone, turned it on, and he'd sent some more pictures through. I said, oh, that's weird. Like, send more pictures through the ticket because he'd already sent us the pictures through the scans. Oh, he sent us more pictures. I said, right, it just looks the same to me. And he says, oh, I've tidied it up. I've trimmed the edges off. That was remember.
Yeah.
I was lying in bed. I was thinking, what? Like, what? Why have you done that?
He thought he was doing you a right favour.
Yeah. Oh, I've tidied it up for you. I was thinking, like, what? Why have you done that? And I sort of said that to him, and he was like, well, I'll reduce the price for you if you want. I think he said 35. But I was just like, no, it just completely put us off it. Because I thought, if it had a rip in it or something, I actually don't mind that because it's just wear and tear. But if someone's properly sliced the edges off and things...
Absolutely. And I think it was mentioned in one of the podcasts, one of the American guys, I think it was Sean mentioned it, and he said, the time of the cut makes a massive difference. If it happened now, it's worthless. But if it happened, as they entered the event or almost straight after or whatever, then it kind of keeps that history. And I don't know how PSA would ever go about that process, but it does actually play a massive part.
Yeah, it just sort of soured us on it as well. I don't really want it. Like, I didn't end up getting it. No, I didn't. I just thought, well, I just put us off. I
Yeah,
just thought, no, didn't really want it. But again, sometimes for me, and I get this a lot on the Discord, and I've got to shout out someone like Iconic Tickets or
Mhm.
Wrestle Stubs here and Football Stubs. They have some quality tickets that I don't necessarily need to own myself.
Yeah,
I just sometimes it's enough for me just to see the ticket on someone's page, and I've gone through their profiles, Iconic and Wrestle Stubs, and Wrestle Stubs will message me with tickets that he's got. I think, whoa, that is amazing. Doesn't necessarily mean I need to go out and own them, but
you can
sometimes I'll go through their profiles and just look at these mint tickets and just think, oh well, that's fulfilled us. That's enough for me, you know.
definitely. I want to touch back on a point we just mentioned. When you are
Mm.
speaking to the people that went to the event, not only are you getting the cool story that might have never been published on a news article, but
Yeah,
also the probability that they have multiple is much higher. They might
yeah.
have said, "Yeah, I went with my mum, or I went with my son, or my friend. I'll give you two for whatever, a better price." So I've always found that's the best way to get the best price.
That's it. That's a good point. I also feel like I just like hearing their stories about these gigs
Yeah.
and other gigs that they've attended. And I think for me, living in Newcastle, getting deeper into it, I suppose, why I've done this. In me in Newcastle growing up, I never got gigs like this up here. And I was a
Hmm.
big hip hop fan, a big rap fan, and I never got to get to see these gigs. And I think for me to feel a bit connected
Yeah.
to the genre, and that is a way is cutting these tickets.
Yeah, definitely. I can
And that
imagine.
makes me feel not like I was there, but like I was sort of a part. It's
Yeah.
messed up, isn't it?
No, I can understand what you mean. I can understand what you mean, and we have that as well. Just being in the UK, and a lot of the cultural things are happening over in America. By owning it or by owning a part of it, you feel more connected to that
Yeah,
the scene over there. So yeah, I completely understand what you mean.
and again, like with the Kanye one and the Eminem one and things like that, sometimes because they're first in the UK, there's a lot on you. There's some clips on YouTube of behind the scenes of these things. For the Kanye one, he was a guest on the Tim Westwood radio show, and
Mm-hmm.
Tim Westwood was backstage at his first gig, and at the forum. And it's so amazing to see Kanye, young, fresh. He's so humble to be there. You can't
Yeah,
believe he's there. He's got like salad that's off backstage, all this sort of stuff.
yeah,
And you just think, well, I've got the ticket, and I'm actually seeing behind the scenes at this gig that you
yeah,
were at. Another one was this. This isn't England, but it was the 50 Cent playing at Townhouse before his album came out. So this was the year before his album came out in 2002,
yeah,
and that is so obviously before he was famous. He was playing the Townhouse in Hunton, and that was really hard to find any information about it. Like, couldn't find anything. But then on YouTube, there was a behind the not behind the scenes, but he was interviewed before the show, like the day before, and he couldn't believe he was in like this place that was like quite nice because he's not used to that. He's like,
yeah,
"Oh, I can't, this is me now," and all this. You think it just gives you a bit of backstory to the ticket that you wouldn't.
yeah, definitely. Have you ever spoke to someone and they've kind of sent you over some photos or video footage from the event that might have never surfaced? Because that would be a cool thought as well.
Well, no, but I've sourced magazine clippings and posters and reviews of the
Mhm.
shows. So I've got the Eminem Brixton one. I've got a post a big full page review of that. The same with Drain Snoop and Eminem at Subterranea. It was in a magazine that was released in London, like a little bit about that and a little bit about Eminem, and I've got that as well upstairs now. Like,
Now I really think about
I
it as you
quite like
speak.
pairing them together.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of collectors do that, whether it's a sports card and the ticket, or the magazine, or the program and the ticket. It's a cool match together. What was I
I think you
saying?
can frame them, can't you, Taylor? I mean, that would look good if I could be bothered putting that something like that in a frame. You've got the tickets and you've got the spread.
Yeah, so my brother
If you
obviously
wanted
made
to.
his debut in the Premier League, and I made it a conscious effort, although I had a digital ticket, to get the physical ticket as well, so he can frame his shirt and then have the ticket underneath. So kind of bringing those two moments together is really cool.
Yeah, I love love that, and it's something you can display, isn't it? And I think I've seen this to you, Taylor, the other day. Is like stuff like this, tickets, sneakers, cards, or whatever, or programs. Even that's the new art. That is art now. That we're not going to places and buying artwork and sticking them on paintings and sticking them on wall. In general, we're not doing that. But you do see now walls of sneakers, walls of magazines, and their talking points. People walk into a place and go, "Whoa, look at that! That's incredible."
Exactly, and like I said on the pre-call to this call, I'm getting an office soon with some of the members of my team, and it'll be incredible to have the tickets on display with kits and programs and whatever it may be, and just bringing those together as talking points. Also part of the culture that has led us to get to where we are now. All these different items have played a role in getting you there. So it's definitely, firstly, a talking point, but just something cool to represent the journey. And I think that's why having these Instagram accounts or these online museums and forums are a way to story tell as well, whether it's your own personal journey or the journey of the celebrities themselves.
Definitely. And sometimes finding out about this stuff is more enjoyable than actually receiving in hand. Like,
always.
It is, isn't it? Like I enjoy reading up on these shows and think, wow, and then you like that Eminem Subterranean one. I'd found out about that, and it was always in the back of my mind. If that comes up, I'm going to go for it and that. And then it came up, and then I delved a bit deeper and read into it. I was like, the story behind it is amazing. And then once you get the ticket, Taylor, I've said this to you before. You look at it and then you put it away, and then you're on to the next one, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people listening, and I'm sure you included, will relate to this. But we've gone from like ticket collectors, potentially memorabilia investors, into just historians. Really, it's nice to unravel these moments and these moments throughout time. And it is basically a historian perspective. You are collecting pieces of time, whether it just be a ticket or other memorabilia, that capture these stories that might go untold. And I think with social media nowadays, stories are so quick to hit. They're almost immediate moments, right? It might be a phenomenon online that everyone's talking about and it's shared and it becomes a thing very quickly. But potentially with these vintage memories, when things weren't documented so well, that they might age better in that aspect and eventually come out and release with time. I know a lot of Michael Jackson stories came out after he passed away and people started talking about it again, even with footage. So potentially these tickets are a way to unravel some of the stories that were never really documented.
That's a good point, and I think when you only find little snippets of things, it makes you intrigued a bit more, and you try and delve a bit deeper, and you'll have even gone and read scans of newspapers online about shows and things like that, and I that's part of it that I really enjoy. It's just, you're right, the historian thing, that is just part of it. And for a while, for a small while, when you're chasing a ticket or you're researching a ticket, that consumes you for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
It was for me. And then once that's over and you've got it, you're on to the next.
Yeah, and that's why displaying them in a cool way is important, because otherwise they really are just shoved into a drawer, and it's a hoarder's problem rather than a collectible memorabilia part of history. So displaying that is a cool way. And I think you re-get that buzz when they come back from PSA and you've got them freshly slabbed, and you can really appreciate it even more. You can handle it a bit more firmly, I guess, and feel closer to it. But yeah, you're completely right.
I would love to do that. I've just still got this worry that if I send stuff off, it'll just never come back. Like that is.
I sent off like 50 or 60 tickets to PSA, and it was really weird because I'd had the tab open for PSA and it had the certain address. I didn't ship it that day. I shipped it the day after because I couldn't make it to the post office in time. So I bought my label online that night with that address. The day after, I shipped it, and then I checked the address on PSA's website after FedEx had collected it, and the address was different. And I was thinking, oh my God, I just sent 60 of my most valuable tickets
totally sick
to the wrong address. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've screwed up massively. Yeah. And obviously with these items, you can't really insure them because what are they actually worth? There's probably never been a sale before. And if you've insured it up to say £10,000, they're not going to ever give you £10,000.
No.
So I was petrified, and I've checked on Discord, and it turns out they've changed their address. But anything that's sent to the old address would have been redirected, and there was about a 2-3 week delay, but eventually got there, and it was a massive sigh of relief. I thought I lost everything.
That would make me physically ill, Taylor. Like I wouldn't be able to function in life. Like I would. See, that's my worst fear. Is something like that happen.
And I know Sergio and Lucas have both recommended this to me. When you're sending big submissions, just do it in groups. So if you have got 50 tickets, do it in 10 submissions of 5 or something like that. And I know more of a European UK problem. It's far more expensive, but if it means you don't lose tickets, it is probably best. But I took a gamble.
Well, they've got them though, haven't they? Have they scanned them yet?
Yeah, they've got the pre-scans.
Yeah. Oh, well, you probably.
I think it's now, then. Estimated to come back early September, so I'll be waiting patiently for that.
I can't wait to see these.
I think
when they come back.
I might even be moving house before then, so I'm going to have to contact PSA and change the address.
Oh my god! See, these things that you just probably wouldn't even think of when you send them off.
Exactly. 4 or 5 months later, they come back and you've moved house twice.
The thing, did you ever get these things? So, like, something will just come to you out of the blue and think, right, I need to start collecting that now. Like,
that was me with those Yeezy shoes. Honestly, I don't know what happened to me, but I thought
it's just mad, isn't it?
These are cool. I wanted these when I was younger. I can finally afford them. Finally got the money to be able to get something that I dreamed of. Let's do it. Or that was a great moment in life. If you have a nostalgic flashback, it's like, right, I want to feel that feeling again. And it is nuts. I remember when I saw the Yeezys arrive, it was like, it brought back all those emotions. And I mean, a lot of these events that I'm buying and tickets that I'm buying, I never connected to. So I don't have that same spark. But I can imagine if you went to the event and you rebought the ticket, then that feeling is incredible.
Yeah, I suppose with music as well, you'll be too young for this, Taylor, I'd imagine. But I used to collect CDs, and I'd have a big unit full of CDs in, and I suppose that, without knowing, is me early collecting without sort of realizing it. And very rarely would you go and pick a CD and put it on, but they look nice in the things, and then what happens is in time you just get rid of them and you clear up space and things. So I suppose in a way this is again just something to feel connected to a show or an artist that you really like, and a bit of history. And it is a shame that you can't, with your Yeezys, you see, you can have them on display, no problem. But I'm so worried about things getting sun damaged. And that's a real thing. And that I don't know how I would really go, unless it was in a room with no windows. I don't know how I'd go about doing it.
I'm not sure, because PSA have designed their new slabs, and I'm not sure if you've seen it. But it's a lot more firm and stuff like that. And it's only for sports cards at the moment. I'm sure it will evolve into tickets and larger slabs. But I don't know if they are UV protected, but I assume they will be now, because it's a completely new design. It's the first time they've ever changed it. The material's different. I think they spent so much on research and whatever else. So it'll be interesting to see if they are UV protected. But I do know people that have bought the ticket, got it slabbed, and then you can get some UV protecting spray that's clear, and you spray that on the slab, and then in theory it is protected from sun damage. But yeah, especially with some of the tickets where the ink can fade, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I was not aware that they did that. I will send stuff off to PSA in time, but in my head I've always thought, like, well, if I've got this amount of money to send off to PSA, I'll just buy new stuff.
I do know what you mean. It goes back to the previous point. Once it is slabbed, you can then begin to display it freely. Whereas if it's not slabbed, it is just piled up. So you're kind of investing in appreciating what you have to some extent.
You're absolutely right there.
I'm not PSA, because I know everyone's got their own opinion, and it is a big financial cost. But
I think they look class. I love stuff in PSA slabs. I think they look brilliant. If I could click my fingers and have them all slabbed, I would do it in a heartbeat. I think they look amazing. I know some people aren't bothered about them, but I think they look great and neat and really cool in slabs. Yeah. And they've also got the tabs, haven't they? So you can tell at a glance what it is. And that in itself.
That's very important for tickets. Not so much for sports cards, because you know what it is. You see it and you know what it is. But and often the details are on there. But with a ticket, you need that flip on it to explain what's going on.
So have you never collected any music tickets, Taylor?
Yeah, so I've got last performances. So I've got
Hmm.
last performances for Pink Floyd, last performances for Led Zeppelin, um, and a few others like the David Bowie ticket, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It's always first and last. I've never picked up a moment really, but I do appreciate
Yeah.
them so much. And there was that Yeezy 2017 um,
His
Life of
life
Pablo.
was it? How much
Yeah,
was that on for?
I think he wanted like $600-700 or something like that. Yeah,
That's
and
mad.
it is a great ticket, but it's not worth that much. It's just not. And it was
Mhm.
probably growing up one of the most played albums ever, and that was the party to display it. So it's definitely a moment in my brain, but it's not a $700 moment yet. But I mean, potentially if I
Do
get
you know what
richer,
though? It just depends. It just takes one person who thinks I really want that ticket, and
yeah,
then they could pay like me with that Notorious B.I.G. tickets. That was, that was round about that price. Well, not a bit. No, it's a bit less actually. But I was just had it in my head at that moment. I was like, I really want one of a ticket from him, just because he's in my top five without question, and I'm okay for Biggie now. Like that's me.
yeah.
That's me. I needed one ticket. Yeah, yeah. I feel like that because I feel like I just wanted one of his tickets, one of his concert tickets, and that's me okay with that now. I feel I've got that. I've got a ticket to one of the biggest raps, but they're so rare. As I said, when I checked, there was only four like in the pop, only
Mhm.
four in total. He only did one. He was only on one tour, and it was that tour.
No way.
Um, yeah, yeah. Apparently so. Apparently, he only did, and the others were like just shows here and there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so
mhm.
we're talking about music. We're talking about some of the top five that you've gone through. Do you want to order the top five? And I think there might be a
Yeah,
potential band that makes that top five that you've recently picked up a really
yeah,
cool
yeah,
one
yeah.
for.
Okay, right. 1 second then. Just got a couple here. Um, so I would say the Eminem Subterranea one would be. Uh, can we? Well, I tell you what. We'll do a top three because I've basically shown these tickets already.
Yeah, I would just say top five artists aside from tickets, and then
Oh, top five
the moments
artists.
for each one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't. I can't really think off the top of my head. I will.
So
What I'm going to do. What I'm going to do, Taylor. I'm just going to show you a ticket that you'll probably have this as well, right? That you enter the hobby and you think if this, as I've said to you before, if this, you'll have probably in your head one or two tickets that you think I need this ticket at whatever whenever it comes up, right? And
yeah,
for me, always it was the Eminem Lyricist Lounge tour. Can you hear that dog barking? By the way,
I can, but it's fine. It's not taken away from the moment. If you want to sort him out or her out,
no, he's all right. He's all right. So it was an Eminem Lyricist Lounge tour,
yeah,
and what happened was this was a tour that happened in 1998 before he'd released any album. It was
mhm,
like a year before he'd released an album, and he was supporting in little clubs in America. He was just a support act, and I thought if I ever see a Lyricist Lounge tour ticket, I'm going to get it. And it came up, and it was in the same auction as the Eminem Subterranea one.
yeah,
It came up as well in that auction, and I managed to get it, and there it is. There, it's a pot one.
yeah.
Yeah. I think
What's the
there's a
grade on
couple.
that?
Sorry,
What is the grade?
it's poor because it's got a. It looks like it's
Yeah,
maybe stuck in something. But that doesn't bother me because if you had it displayed anyway, it would be displayed like that.
definitely.
So, and for me, that is just like nothing amazing happened at that gig, but because it was so early before he released an album, I
Mhm.
think in time Eminem is going to go down as one of the goats without question, right?
Yeah.
And I think the impact he had on music is insane. So I think in time something like that. Well, do you know what? I just wanted to have it. Like I didn't really think, oh, it's going to be worth X amount. I just
Yeah.
thought I want to have that ticket, and I think
Mhm.
that's the best. I think that's the best way. It always comes back to collect what you love. I love Eminem, especially his early stuff. So I thought I can't go wrong then because I love him. I think he's great, I was really chuffed a bit to get that one. And then again in the same auction, we're not doing top five still. I'm sorry. I'm just going off me.
Go through.
Eminem. There was another one, and this was in West Hollywood, and again, I believe this was their first time on stage together, Eminem and Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
So I believe that was their first ever time, unless anyone can prove us wrong on that. And I think there was loads of stars at that show because it was Hollywood. If you look online, there's some pictures and there's like tons of celebrities there. So I think that was quite a big deal, that show. But I suppose my number one, and you know what I'm probably going to get to here, is, and I wasn't their biggest fan, I must admit, but I think the Beatles, for their impact worldwide, were just they're just a huge, probably the biggest band ever, and spawned. I mean, they were like the first boy band, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they really were completely historic. And I mean, if you look at top music ticket sales, I think they're up there in every way. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's their first US tour, their first whatever it may be, that is in all the record-breaking sales. So it definitely captures the heart of the many.
So I tell you, I'll tell you the story behind this before I show you what I've got. I was on the Discord channel, and you know when you'll search keywords in the Discord, and people probably do this on Google, like on the Facebook groups and stuff. I do it anyway. I'll search a keyword and see what comes up on history of like posts. So I must have searched. I want to say I'd searched for maybe pass. I think it was one of the times where you remember the Michael Jordan pass came up for the Bulls.
Yeah.
I think I was just looking for that or something, so I'd search the keyword pass or something like that in the Discord, and then I went down a rabbit hole of like looking at the thread of comments and things like that. And Fav had said, I believe it along these lines. I believe there's Cavern Club passes out there for the Beatles' first Cavern Club show. Yeah. He probably doesn't even remember writing that, but I saw that, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, Jesus Christ. Are there? Like, if I ever see one of them, I'm gonna get that. So I just locked it away in my head. I was just like, if I ever. So what I'll do from time to time, Taylor, I'll look at auctions online, like music auctions. I've signed up to lots of music auctions online, and I'll look at the tickets that come up. And one day there was a Beatles auction online. I thought, right, I'm going to have a look at the lots and see if there's one of these Cavern Club passes. And there was a Cavern Club pass for their first show. So I'll show you that now. So this is a Cavern Club membership pass for 1961. Now the Beatles' first show was in February 1961, and I think they're quite hard to come by these passes.
This is nuts because I've seen tickets from like 1964, 3 years later, sell for like tens of thousands of dollars, and you've got something 3 years before that in their most memorable stage, I guess, throughout their history, and you've got the pass to that event. And I remember doing some research on that as well because it's nuts. And I don't think there was actual individual tickets for that event, so that is truly the best encapsulation of that memory.
So their first ever Cavern Club performance, which was in February, and I believe there's only one of these graded out there, and I think it's Ravel's. I don't know his real name.
Darren
Ravel. I believe he's got one. Just based on what was said in the Discord, someone mentioned he's got one. But this was like a reasonable price, you know. I believe, and I just think I was in the auction, and I was bidding online for it. I'd never done that before on this auction house, and I was up against one other person in the room, and going back and forward. And I remember I was getting a bit uncomfortable, and I said to myself, if he counters my bid with one more bid, I'm not going to. That is me done. And he didn't. He must have thought the same thing, but a bit earlier. So I got it, and I was, and as I say, I'm not the Beatles' biggest. I mean, I don't go away and listen to the Beatles. I don't.
Yeah.
But there's no denying the impact that they've had, and I think you'll probably never get a Beatles true first performance in general, will you? I think that's probably down there with like Pele's first thing.
Yeah.
But this is the closest you'd get to a debut.
Yeah.
It's the Cavern Club debut. But one thing to note about these, if you were going to bid for one, is I've read up on some people that have got these, and sometimes people have bought the membership in May, say for example May that year, and the date's been written in May.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, and you pay a lot of money for this, and it's got in the date that was bought, well then it wouldn't be valid for February.
Absolutely. So is yours valid?
Yes, there's no date inside it.
Got you. So it would have been bought.
I'm saying that. I'm taking that as fine.
I would assume, I don't know enough, but I assume anything bought before the year would be unwritten, and then they would have added a date if it was bought within the year. But again, I can't confirm that. I'm just assuming.
No, but there's nothing. I mean, there's no date in it, and I must admit that was something that I'd read up on after I'd bought it, but it hadn't been delivered. So in my head now, I was thinking, "Oh my god, if it's got one of these dates inside, like I'll be absolutely devastated." So then you get it, and you're like, "Oh my god!" And you're looking through the pages, scanning it, and there was just nothing there. Amazing. So I think that's like you're probably right. It's someone who's probably got it at the turn of the year, but you forget sometimes. You just assume like, oh, they've all got these at the start of the year, but of course there's going to be people getting them mid-year and things like that you wouldn't.
Yeah, especially for a venue that's not particularly busy or that well desired. Of course, now looking back, it is, but at the time, I very much doubt it would have. And I actually read the story. Who was the guy that brought them to the Cavern Club? Because I think he was there at the back of the venue. I think it was a very small venue when they performed. I think it was a lunchtime performance as well.
Yeah, it was a lunchtime performance. Yeah,
big performances are at the night, and they were just chucked on one afternoon at 12 o'clock or something.
Yeah, it was a lunchtime performance, and I think there was something like Paul McCartney turned up in his jeans or something, and they weren't going to let him in, and things like stuff like that. And so but the Cavern Club wasn't, I don't think, particularly huge in popularity at that time. But of course, when the Beatles started playing, that grew in popularity like huge amount. So then, as word got around about this band, then they probably started issuing more memberships.
Yeah.
So then you'll probably find a lot with dates in as they go through the year.
Also, on top of that, even like the 1963 ones, they're really popular, and the design is the same other than the year. They're extremely popular, but the early ones are near enough impossible to find. And what's cool is, although it is a pass, and I'm pretty sure are they pages of a small book.
Yes.
PSA still encapsulate that, and it looks incredible.
Yes, they do, and that is one of those things that is something that would look crazy good and encapsulated. It needs to be like, because there's just no denying their popularity. And
before you grade that, I'm just thinking now you've got to photograph the fact that page is empty and not dated, because it does point actually. Now that you mention it.
It's just something that you probably wouldn't even think about. Like, so if you see one of these passes come up online, you probably wouldn't think there's a date inside, and I didn't really. It was only until I'd read up on it and got it. I say, "Oh no, God, please no, there's not one." And then, so you ask if anyone out there, if you're going to bid for one, make sure you see the pages first.
What's funny is your story about the bidding on the auction. It's not like eBay; you can bid in increments of pennies. I think when you get past a certain point, it's like 20 quid, 50 quid, and £100.
It goes like that. Yeah. It starts off, so I was thinking, and then there's a pause, and you think, "Oh, I've got it for that amount." Yeah. Like, there was a pause. I was thinking, "Oh, I'd got it for like an insanely cheap amount," and then it just went do, and then other people enter and things like that. But this was just back and forth with one other person, and you'll have a figure in mind, and you'll just think, "Oh, it's getting a bit much this now. Maybe just one more." I'll just.
Those traditional auctions are so exciting compared to eBay auctions, because it could literally just be one or two people fighting against each other, and it can go for anything. I've been sat on auction houses for a ring, and it was estimated at £50, and it ended up going for like £24,000.
For what?
A ring, just a ring. It wasn't a ticket; it was a ring. Right. And it was estimated at £50, and someone else wanted it, and two people were basically bidding, and the whole room couldn't believe what was going on. But yeah,
that is insane. Like, What was something special about it, or what? Or?
I can't remember, to be honest with you. Something I was an expert in, but yeah, it was
But
funny.
that's all it takes, isn't it? Is someone with the same mindset as you thinking, I really want that? And if you're thinking with your heart and you're not from a business point of view, like a lot of these tickets are, as I say, I don't sell, never sell anything. And if you're going into it with a business head, you look at it more clear. But to someone like me, if you really want a ticket just for you to have it, then it's something you're not going to go. I wouldn't go ridiculous, but you're probably a bit more able to spend a bit more freely, aren't you, and not think about it.
Now that you've got that pass, is the Beatles journey over, or do you think you'll grow on that collection?
It's over, mate. Yeah, that's.
It doesn't get better than that, I don't think.
I don't have the Beatles. A lot of this stuff is again. I just wanted like the Kanye one. I won't get another Kanye ticket now. You know, I mean, maybe I've still like my ticket journey now is very much like I've slowed down a lot, and it's really just a case of I've got one or two things in my head. If they came up, then I would go for them. But I'm not like I'm not collecting like a series of tickets or putting a collection together where I need all of Messi's World. Do you know what? Nothing that they are amazing, but I just don't need. I don't feel like I've got that in my head at the minute. But there's nothing to say, Taylor, and you know this, right? You could just one day like that think I need to do this, and it just changes.
Yeah, and I think it is more of an American thing to do to collect a series of things. And I don't know whether that's embedding into the UK collecting culture, but I've fallen victim to it sometimes because it's like that would just be cool. You know, for example, the Messi 2022 World Cup. Wanting to collect every single game from that journey would be really cool. And that kind of leads on to maybe another pickup that you've got if you want to show that one off as well.
Well, this for me is just insane, and it is the Messi World Cup. Messi versus Mbappe final, isn't it? Is that what's been called now?
Yeah, I think.
I never get this out really. I just it's another thing that's just been put away, but it would look great on display. So Absolutely. This is the World Cup final ticket, VIP. Hold on a second. So it's in a lovely display case, and then I don't mean to say that there.
Yeah.
So it comes in that.
Even like these extras are beautiful.
Oh, amazing! So you've got let me see in there the top of the ticket, and I'll just get it out. So there's the VIP final ticket for France and Argentina. Of course, you've got the Super VIP Deluxe VV.
I got the VVIP, which I think was given to like political people, and then the VIP was just anyone of influence, I believe. But the fact that yours is, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but the fact that it's in that blue, the Argentina blue, is so cool. Like it's a color match with the winning team on Messi's first World Cup final.
I love it. Have you seen many of these around?
I've never seen one before, not in that blue.
It's just so I can't believe I've got that. I really can't, and that is one of those things. Top 5 tickets. To me, that's probably number 1 for me. I'd say. I mean, that is just like because it was the greatest World Cup final. I believe the greatest World Cup final, the greatest player, and Mbappe had a fantastic. I mean, Mbappe will go down in time now as one of the greatest. So if you look at this final 10, 20 years from now when Mbappe is retired as well, and it'll be played forever, like the highlights of it. And
I definitely think. And then there's that save at the end by Martinez. I think it was the second most goals scored in the World Cup final. Mbappe got a hat-trick. Messi got 1 or 2. The storyline was incredible. It was a passing of the torch. It was Messi's first World Cup. There's a lot of, there's quite an abundant amount of the hospitality tickets, but these VIP or VVIP tickets are next to impossible to find. So it's a
And
nice. I know.
we've said this before, Taylor. The people who have hospitality tickets
Mhm.
are probably. I mean, I would say that they're all right for money, but they wouldn't mind recouping some money as well, probably at the same time. The people who have the VIP and VVIP probably
Yeah,
don't give two hoots about money, and
not
they're
at all.
not going to go. They probably don't even have an eBay account, and they wouldn't
Yep,
even think to sell them. A lot of
yep.
these people.
Well, listen, the people in the VIP lounge were the likes of like Pogba. I think
Yeah.
the who else was in there? Zlatan Ibrahimovic was in there. Do you think that he's going to ever get his ticket and list it on eBay? It's impossible. And then
No.
the fact that they're multi millionaires, what's that fee going to make a difference to them? And if they
Probably
do
your
have,
best.
they're going to keep it.
Your best bet is probably they've just given them to some of their friends, and then their mates have put them on or something. But even then, they probably haven't even gone out the venue with them. They probably just
Yeah.
left them there.
Often, yeah, I assume a lot of them would have been binned or whatever. So, yeah, such a cool ticket. And in that blue VIP is a great way to stand out.
It's something to. I don't know what you would do with this, but I wouldn't even. I don't even want to get that graded because I think it just looks so good in
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah, that was my next question for you. Would you plan to grade it or not?
Nah, no, I don't. I wouldn't. Like, I just like it as it is.
So my
That is probably the
VIP
one
one,
ticket. Sorry.
sorry, I was going to just say my VVIP one didn't come with all the extra fancy stuff.
No, well, in that case, I would 100% get yours graded.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's only the fact that it's in the case that I wouldn't do that. If yours
Mhm.
was in it, if yours had come in a case, I would say, if it were me, I would just say no. I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's in a nice case, and if you had it displayed somewhere in the case,
Mhm.
I think that maybe it's open or something like with it in. You could see
Yeah.
it in a museum or something, couldn't you? Like that.
Definitely the way you open it up and it's an experience.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really cool. Is there any other pickups then that you've made that are going to blow the waters? Because that Messi one, the Beatles one, and the Eminem one are incredible.
Trying to think now. No, I think those were probably my big purchases, to be
Mhm.
honest, Taylor. And I think I have got some stuff like I've got a couple of Bellingham debuts,
Yeah.
the full tickets, which I think in time will come good. And I've got them at like fair prices, like the Jude Bellingham, the Birmingham ones. But as for like really big purchases, that's probably, I know this is famous last words, but it's probably me done for a while. But I've said
Costs at the
this so
moment.
many times. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sure you've got some other big costs at the moment coming up with the baby, so maybe it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. But you never know what's around the corner, do you? There could be
Exactly.
something to that, and that is part of like what is mint about this hobby is you just don't know what's coming up next. And like,
Mhm.
who knew? I will certainly know after we spoke last time that I'd then accumulate like these tickets and be on
Yeah.
a totally different journey with. I mean, last time we spoke, it was about matchups and Phantom Pele tickets and all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff, and Lewis Miley, who everyone knows this kid's name now just because
Yeah.
of these tickets in our Discord.
You you've made him famous.
I've hyped him up,
Yeah.
the Wonder Kid. But who would have thought? Who would have thought after that? Then 6 months later or whatever, I'd have got a Beatles debut and then an Eminem Lyricist Lounge tour,
Yeah.
all this sort of stuff, and I'm buzzing with them. And I think the best ones are always the ones that you have a connection with, I reckon, and you're not
Definitely.
looking at like financially motivated for them.
I think it's funny how not to discredit your original collection, but you've gone from like a humble collection of wrestling tickets and football tickets that you love to now having one of the top collections, because those items are mind blowing in such a short period of time. And I think we're in a window now, and I don't know if everyone appreciates it, but in 5-10 years' time, we'll definitely look back at this phase and think, Jesus, I wish I bought more.
I probably do you know what? Like I do, as I've said to you before in this podcast, I love getting the tickets, but it is the journey, it's the connections that you make with people, it's the stories that they share, and I've watched every episode of your show, Taylor, and it's not so much the tickets people show, but it's the stories behind them as well. And I think that is what I love about this is hearing about the lengths people have gone to get these tickets and the backstories behind them and all those sort of things. I love that. I love all
Yeah,
that.
definitely. I know. I think his name's James. He got the Espanol Pro debut on the
It
Discord
is
channel. It'll be interesting to hear his story behind that as well, because the ticket's great and
definitely.
it's beautiful and it's cool to see another one surface. But I want to know how he found it. I know he made
Yeah,
that story about the joke
yeah.
about his village, but it'll be
He's
interesting to
got
see.
a duty to the he's got a duty to the ticket collecting community to share that story. He has to do it.
Absolutely, maybe this is an official invitation for him to come on and tell the story.
Yeah, he,
That's
he
the
needs
best.
to come on next. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, of course, because there must be a story behind it, and yeah, I think with things like the Espanol ticket, again, 99.9%, I'll never own it, right? And I'm at peace with that. That's okay. But I
yeah,
still like to. I think it's mint that people have got it and show it off, and I like to hear the stories behind them. I think they're quality. I much prefer to hear a real story like that, and I'm pleased people like James and yourself and whoever else has got them. I've got these tickets, and you're actually real people. You're not trying to flip them for ridiculous money. Not that there's
exactly.
any. I don't have any issue with people doing that, but it wasn't that. I remember when I would hate it if it went to one of them companies that just does the autographs and sends like millions of Messi tickets in.
Yeah.
I know why they're doing it, and I like it's going to real people who are massive ticket collecting fans, and I just prefer it that way.
Yeah, I remember when the Espanol one went up on Golden, and you messaged me and just said, "I hope that someone that we know has got it
Yeah,
because it can be truly appreciated rather than bought, probably put in a private collection or sold for
yeah,
a massive amount somewhere else by basically someone that's just trying to make some money."
yeah. That was a mad time when that went on. I mean, the Messi Espanol, and it is by law that that ticket gets mentioned in every ticket podcast. By the way, that is written in the pre-contract. But that is that is the grail of soccer tickets, right? It is for debuts. But if you're looking at, but for me as well, up there is that World Cup ticket. I
Mhm.
mean, if I was drawing up a top five, I think you've got that World Cup ticket. You've got Ronaldo, and I mean, very early Ronaldo tickets I would put up there as well. And I do think history will show. But I mean, we're looking at 20. I'm thinking 10, 20 years from now.
Yeah,
If
same.
you, I mean, these people are still playing Messi, Ronaldo, and that when they're retired and well, they're looking back, they'll be like these mythical figures. Like you look at
Exactly.
Maradona and
Words
Pelé.
out my mouth. We can still relate to them. There's still not that nostalgic touch, but in 10 years' time, when they're no longer playing, we look back and think, "Oh, it's not like the old days," or "It's nothing like how it used to be." We still don't have that thought cross our mind because they're still in the forefront of us. But when they become a part of the imagination,
Yeah,
they'll be loved even more. And yes, we appreciate them as the best, but we don't have that nostalgic feeling because we still
no,
see them every day. So when we
absolutely.
haven't seen them for 6 months, a year, and they finally pop up, and you remember that that debut of the World Cup or whatever it may be, I think they can only be appreciated more.
And what will help them is that there's footage from the very beginning of their career to now.
Mm,
That's what will help them. And when you look at Pele and Maradona and people like that, what put me off Pele when I was a kid was the lack
yeah,
of footage.
yeah,
And it was all black and white and stuff. And I was like, oh, who's this old bloke playing in black and white and all that? I was just one. And it was only when I got older that I've sort of appreciated more. But even then with Pele, there's not, I wouldn't say there's like, well, there's nowhere near as much footage as what we've got from Ronaldo to Maradona. Sorry, Ronaldo and Messi. But you could actually, I'm sure there'll be footage of every one of Ronaldo's goals,
yeah.
and
I've
that
watched
will always be
it,
there.
and I think it was like 2 hours long of every single goal Messi scored. Um, and it proves your point that there's a documentation of that, which
Yes,
means those stories will be told and documented
forever.
online for years to come.
Yeah,
So that will only
kids
support
growing
them.
up now, and I think with footballers now, the individuality of footballers is getting less and less. I mean, you had these magicians like Ronaldinho, even even someone who's coming to your head randomly is JJ Okocha. Like
Yeah,
you will never get players like that now. You will never get them.
yeah,
But because it'll just be coached out of them, they'll be told not to do those things. Maybe it's very rarely. you would. But so I think these figures will probably become iconic figures like that. Might become less. I don't know for a fact. Might become less and less because
Yeah, I think so. Well, the only one that we can really relate back to in modern time is Ronaldinho. He's the only one that brought that flair and that twist and that football that we've never seen. We hadn't seen in a long time. So yeah, these faces will come and go, and they'll be the ones that stand out.
definitely, yeah. Especially with the we're talk like mixtape generation or whatever. It's like you want to see quick clips now,
Yeah,
and everything's fast.
mixtape generation.
Yeah, well, people don't like. It goes back to albums, doesn't it? People don't listen to albums now; they'll listen to playlists and things like that. And it'll be like that with soccer clips. People will never go back and watch like full matches and that, but they'll watch clips of people. And you're not going to go back and watch clips of a lot of these modern footballers now because they're not entertaining. But you'll see on your timeline on football, there'll be clips from players that actually probably retired 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that'll live on.
So we started off talking about music and we ended up back to the Espanol.
Oh, yes. We have to.
The lore of the podcast.
It always sucks you in there, doesn't it?
Can't ignore it.
What have you come across anything recently, Taylor?
And that was something I wanted to talk about as well. It's been pretty in my own life. I've been busy with work and stuff, but it's been a dry period in the Discord, on the boogers, on eBay. Nothing really, picking up. So that excitement isn't really there. But listen, it will come and go. It's waves, like you said. People are focused on the Euros at the moment. And yeah, listen, there's no rush. It's a good time to pick up stuff on eBay that hasn't really got many views. I haven't picked up many things, to be honest. Plenty of Finley Monroe debuts and Premier League debuts. That's really been my focus because, I mean, the family want these tickets and it's just a cool thing to document because I know that in 20 years' time I'll regret not doing it. But that's been my focus.
I agree. I agree with you. I've felt the same about ticketing at the minute. It felt a bit dry for me. I'm not really sure why that is. I feel maybe I feel like I've just probably got what I mainly set out to get, and like I feel, when you get that fulfilled feeling, I think, I'm quite happy with the ones I've got, and if anything, it would probably just maybe duplicates of some of them. Yeah, but I mean that sort of content. When you start off and you want everything, oh, there's no. You don't even know you want it till you see it. You think, I really need that. That's sort of left me a bit now.
Yeah, it's a journey through. It's ups and downs and excitement and wanting to get back into it. And listen, the space is still very new. It's only really 4 or 5 years established for UK collectors. It's never going to be super exciting, like go the whole time. It's going to be ups and downs, and I still love it. There's not a day that I'm not on Discord or eBay.
I check it off all the time. I
still love it. But listen, it's been a great episode. I've loved to see where you're at now. It's great to do these reviews every maybe 6 months just to see what we've both picked up. We're still always messaging as well, but these longer form conversations are great. But thank you so much for coming.
And as I say, Taylor, you never know when this podcast finishes. Some I could come across something that just starts a whole wave of other things.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. It's great, isn't it?
The real question is to end on: is this going to beat the previous episode in the amount of views?
People have learned their lesson, I think, from watching that one. No. No, do you know? Again, there's just no rhyme or reason to it. Is there people? I can't understand why that was the most viewed at all, unless it was people saying this kid's gone completely daft with his collection. He's collecting stupid stuff. Maybe he's watched this. I don't know.
Well, listen, we are an hour and 9 minutes deep into this podcast. Let's make this get more views than the previous one to pay for the Ben's collection. So share it with your friend, your uncle, your grandma. Get them watching it. And thank you so much for listening. And cheers,
Thanks,
Ben.
Speak soon, mate.
Definitely. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye.